I ask for what is bad for what is good today. It is the experience you have of allowing God to come and wear down your wounded soul, your spirit of and of. It is for you to have the possibility of rebuilding yourself in life so that you do not continue dragging this mountain of God's healing process within us. It takes place in the act of illuminating our intelligence to give us the conditions to see the same fact with different eyes. Who knows, you woman of today? Look at that woman who was abandoned about 5 years ago. 6. That abandonment that marked your heart so negatively, that hurt your shine as a woman, and you say to her, it is that reality in which the person does not know how to deal with it, because I failed emotion. Failure is a feeling, people. When you feel like a failure, do you know the tightness that your chest suffered? That feeling? But as you face reality in the bag, as you can, do not expose yourself too much to fear. Do not expose yourself to few. How many insecurities are within us today that are fruits from our early childhood? I ask you, he invites there, the Word of God. In the letter of St. Paul to the Galatians, chapter 4. Letter of St. Paul to the Galatians, chapter 4. Just some exegetically information, according to the great scholars. The letter of St. Paul to the Galatians, a letter attributed to St. Paul, is not to the Galatians, according to the great experts in the New Testament. It has one of the most faithful translations, as if it were one of the most faithful summaries of Christianity. Take the letter to Galatians, read it from beginning to end, and you will truly immerse yourself in the spirit of Christianity. What did Jesus propose? What does the church intend? The letter to the Galatians, it is because there revolves all the time around the question of freedom. And freedom is very precious within the context of Christianity. Every religion is honest, right? It will seek, offer, through its reflection, through its liturgy, the experience of freedom. I don't know if you know the letter to the Galatians. It constantly speaks of the need to achieve this freedom. Chapter. Total is, therefore, my thought, the whole time the heir is a child. He is no different in any way from a slave. He who is lord of everything. But he is subject to tutors and guardians until a date set by his father. And we likewise, when we were children subject to the elements of the world, were slaves. But when the fullness of time had come, God sent his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to pay the wrath of that manumission of those who are subject to the law, so that it would not be given to be adopted children, sons. Good voice at the two. God sent into our hearts the Spirit of his Son, crying out below, Father? Therefore, you are no longer a slave, but a son. And as a son, you are also right, and this is the work of God. The word of the Lord. Very interesting, that word. It is very concrete and very current. It seems that the writer was already immersed in the human mystery, to the point of understanding some things that today, even today, are still difficult for us to understand. Comparing a child to a slave? How can a child be compared to a slave? A child so full of grace. She is so beautiful. She is so full of charms. How can I say that a child has characteristics of a slave? And the simple, because psychology has evolved, psychology has taught us, far from the soap operas of a child, she is not yet capable of going through the process of differentiation. And you know that selfishness is born when we think that the world is us. Are you capable of the process of differentiation? And you know that selfishness arises when we believe the world is us. City of Santa Rita do Passaquattro. Selfishness is always an expression of a person who doesn't know how to differentiate themselves from others. They think others are an extension of themselves. The selfish person is one who focuses so much on their own world. They are egoic. They are so occupied with their own world that when they look at others, when they see others, when they look at other people, they fail to realize that others have their own world. They end up understanding that others are an extension of the satisfaction of their needs. Have you ever experienced this, my friends? A child, no matter how beautiful, no matter how graceful, is still focused on biological reasons. They are in the process of maturing. They are entirely focused on their own needs. Psychology teaches us. You who have been a mother, you who are a mother. Freud even interpreted this as an oral phase. Where's the child? They don't have the ability to distinguish their body from their mother's body. The child in this first phase of life is so selfish and doesn't know. They are being selfish. It is the maturation process that will lead to the ability to differentiate. But when they are newborn, when they're very small, they don't know how to distinguish their body from their mother's body. So much so that they want to incorporate everything through their mouth. They see the world around them as a continuation of themselves, so they bite everything they see their own. Psychology teaches us that this desire to bite everything that comes their way is a process of incorporating and manifesting this understanding that the other is a continuation of themselves, and that, therefore, they can bite and can bring to themselves. She doesn't differentiate herself from her mother. She doesn't know that her mother is another person. The child is intimately connected to the mother's process. The child is born from the symbiosis. Folks, it's a symbiosis. It's a process of living together. And when she's born, she goes through this process of finding that her mother is her. That's why a child suffers so much in the absence of her mother. If you take a newborn from her mother, the suffering is so painful that it can mark her for the rest of her life as a deep trauma of rejection, loneliness, fear, and insecurity. How many insecurities are within us today that stem from our early childhood? Our mother had to work. She didn't have enough time to care for us, and we, there, with that feeling of being lost in the world, couldn't find the body that was once ours. That's why she wants to bite everything she sees. Isn't that right? If you leave your child alone, she'll rip your cheek off. The breast, the experience of sucking, the maintenance of life. Everything passes through the mouth. It's the oral stage, the stage of trying to incorporate the world through the mouth. It's the stage in which the child doesn't recognize the process of distinction. When you read the book, you'll see it's incredibly important in human life. What is identity? It's the ability to distinguish oneself from others. I am me and I am not you. The moment I say I am me, I am also affirming that I am not the other. It's distinction. But this distinction only comes with time. As the child grows, they begin to realize that there is another reality other than themselves. And moving away from selfishness is you moving away from this mistaken understanding that the whole world is you, that all others are at your service. You know very well the moment when you need to start explaining to the child, "My son, now mommy can't." It's as if nothing is being said. Isn't that right? Because she doesn't have biology. She's not biologically prepared to understand that phrase. I've traveled. It teaches us a lot about child psychology. He'll say that a child, to understand some aspects of emotional life, needs cerebral maturity, just as I need the cerebral maturity of 7 years, which is the age of reason, right? It's the age we start school. A child needs to reach 7 years to be able to articulate some more organized, more complex thoughts. Before, they only know how to live simply. They don't have much capacity to articulate difficult thoughts. So there's no point in sitting down and talking to them as if they were an adult. They won't understand you. You go to a 3-month-old child at the central bank and say, "Darling, aren't you crying now because mommy can't breastfeed right now?" It's strange. Even today, I have to go to the mall. Fruit or appearance. There's a super sale that a mother can't lose. Her weapon has always been the extra, okay? And the crying continues. The city of taking advantage of that child's desperation is still a slave like that. The priest was a slave to her needs. People, what's left is earned. She doesn't yet have the ability to articulate that her mother's absence is temporary and how unique it is. Childhood experts say that a newborn's minute away from her mother can feel like an eternity. But none of them work, because they don't yet know how to deal with the category of time. Do you know how long half an hour is? That's why your little one cries terribly when you tell them, "Son, stay with Grandma. That mommy will only be there for half an hour." They don't know what that means. Half an hour isn't good for anyone. It's better for you to put them to sleep, to leave when they're sleeping. You keep trying to explain it to them. They don't have the biological maturity. So if we see a scene like this, you don't know who's better to tell tomorrow, your child, who already knows that they're the winner, then, but the child is still a slave to their needs. When they're hungry, there's no point in telling them, "Look, I'm going to make you cry on the phone to mommy, uncle," not because you're sick, they're in shock. She doesn't know how long it lasts. 15 minutes, depending on what she studies. She's unable to manage this information. She's still a slave, Hadassah, disappearing from the face of the earth. Ultimately, maturity in a child's life continues with her as she matures, as is well known biologically. I've heard, she'll remember Piaget. If it stays, the brain will mature to capture more precise information. That's why you buy games for your children. These games are all pedagogically approved for that age. They are at the service of Piaget psychology. When you buy a toy of this nature, you are buying into the Piaget kid's idea that the best way to guide a child toward maturity is to let them play with games that have rules. A simple rule: this little yellow piece can't go this way because the red square, the little yellow piece, can only go to the other side, where the yellow piece is. The red piece has to follow the rule. These are simple rules, but they create within the child a structure that Jean Piaget called moral judgment. Do you know what moral judgment is? It's that ability we have to manage information. For example, saying it's forbidden to step on the grass. This moral judgment? It's you being able to distinguish that it's not right to step on the grass. It's interesting. Look, it's a law, it's a rule alongside a witch. But I'm not a slave to this rule for a very simple reason. I know the meaning of the rule of fear. Okay, here's the big difference. A child is a slave the moment they don't know the reason for the rule. But the moment they understand the reason for the rule, they stop being slave. They begin to manage the information they've received. And so you mature the child so that they can, through simple games, dance the crew. No. Games. Creative play. Things that you, as a mother, know are part of your child's process. That's why it's not good to give them weapons, violent toys, because that won't teach your child to follow the rules. What rule? There are people in video games who say that the more people you kill, the higher the number of points. When my nephew was a kid, I once caught him playing that game, all excited, forbidden, and they said, "But I got a pirated game." 8 years old. And how do you play that, man? If you steal someone's car, that's how it is. You have to steal it. You don't have your own car. No. You stop in a video game. You stop on the street. The story goes, there's a stop sign and you come. Put the gun to the head of the guy inside the car. Throw him out. Hit him hard. You can do all of this in the game. Get into the stolen car and run over people. If you run over a child, you earn 1,000 points. If someone runs over you, old man, you earn 1,500 points. If you run over a pregnant woman, you earn 4,000. Guys, I'm not making this up. Who knows this game here? This game can educate a child to understand rules. It's never the opposite. See how much this is, you know? We can only respect a law if we have surpassed the limit of blind ignorance. When are we slaves? We will not be able to obey anything. No rule will be able to convince us that it is worth doing something. That is why St. Paul's words. It is an absolutely current word for the context in which we are reflecting, because we also still have childish characteristics in our behavior. We also still carry childishness in our affections, because why haven't we learned to mature yet? We continue to insist on having childish characteristics, but not the positive ones, those that Jesus emphasized, such as simplicity and sincerity, right? In this sense, we insist on still carrying within us an arsenal of childish feelings, and goikosiki lead us to a process of selfishness, where we only think about ourselves, our needs, and nothing else. I put a price on the slavery of affections. My people, when we do not know slavery of affection, my people, when we don't know how to balance our love life, when we don't know how to balance our emotions, we become children, and we harm the people around us with our behavior. With our way of being, we become a human disaster. We become true monsters. The only person who can turn into a monster is a child. All you need is you, not educating them according to the rules. All you need is to allow them to be childish beyond time. All you need is to not discipline them. All you need is to allow them to do whatever they want in their own time. All you need is to not observe the process of maturity that will give you the right to demand from that child at the right time what needs to be demanded at the right time. Is there a priest? I never learned about this, because you will learn because you are the mother who wouldn't protect them. It's like studying to pass the exam. If you want to be successful in your profession, you'll have to be competent in the subject. They say that being a father and a mother isn't just about bringing children into the world. It's not about you. From the moment you know this child is in your womb, you'll study to know who you're going to bring into the world. Confront him, despite the disappointment. Start over for later. Don't look like that. You have to take my son to this guy. A magic bean is coming. Let them use it to go to another psychologist in your GDP. And if you're going to be more competent than you are, you'll live with him 24 hours a day. There's no such thing. You gave birth to the boy. You gave birth to the boy. You threw him out. Let life create. No, you're being as childish as he is. Then a child in the world will look for viruses and say, for you to raise your boy, your girl well, so that he doesn't remain a child beyond time, so that you allow his childhood to be at the right time, so that his emotions are articulated in the right way, so that their emotions are articulated in the right way and they don't stay that big kid for the rest of their life, incapable of giving themselves to someone because their childhood is preserved within them in a negative way. People, the word is very harsh. The comparison of childhood with slavery? You stop being a slave? Look at the condition of slavery. How regrettable it is. I am a slave to everything I don't know. If I don't know English, I am a slave to the English language. And anyone can say whatever they want to me, and I'm their look. Right? The book is on the day. Or in The Brilliant Friends. That's it. Everything you don't know, you are a slave to. Funny thing. Everything you don't know, and that has to be sovereign over you. Pick up a book you don't understand at all. Pick up one of those complicated philosophy books, and you feel like a fool reading it, but that's because you don't know. The moment you seek understanding, that text stops enslaving. That text stops being too powerful over you, my people. Our relationship with people is the same thing. How many times have you feared? Were you afraid of that person who was born of one? More disturbing were his childhood, the slavery in that, in not having the courage to open the doors to get to know. If you limit yourself to the easy answer, and you limit yourself to crying without making an effort, it's typical of a child to throw a tantrum. What is life? It's the inability it has to deal with failure. I wanted my mother to buy that, and she didn't, so I'm not going forward or back. I fall right here. Open it. It's the recognition of failure. I'm rubbish. I couldn't even move my mother's heart, so she would buy what I wanted. It's the most dramatic expression of childhood, the tantrum. Income child. Environmental child. If you didn't have the Christian principles we have, especially the end of others, you'd get hanged right there, right? With so much courage to admit it, how many times have you not wanted to hang your neighbor? The tantrum is the public manifestation of childhood, of childishness, of the excessive childhood. It's that reality in which the person doesn't know how to deal with it because they fail emotionally. Failure is a feeling, people. When you feel like a failure, do you know the tightness your chest felt? That feeling of shame, my God, I couldn't handle it. I don't even have the courage to tell others that I didn't pass. And there are people who are such failures that they even failed the stool test. They're already so failures that they can't even pass the urine test. Then there's the tantrum, crying, but they don't do anything. They don't get up to start to continue their life. Where are they? The problem with tantrums is that they prevent a person from making a decision. Okay, you didn't buy it. Let's get up and leave. But children don't know how to resolve this emotion within themselves. Are you the one who will teach them? My son? My daughter? We're not going to buy it ready-made, and that's it. And if they keep throwing a tantrum, will they be left alone there in the middle of the mall? Teach your child to deal with limits. Teach the child to deal with, and if you keep throwing a tantrum, will you be left alone there in the middle of the mall? Teach your child to deal with limits. Teach the child to deal with no's. Teach the child to deal with the possibility of not doing so. Not that. You'll have a monster who will constantly throw tantrums, solving problems, and you'll have to solve the problem because she threw a tantrum, and when she's an adult, she'll throw a tantrum with his wife. Guys, between us, how many times in life do you give your life? But you don't lie on the floor. Your friend here? 1 week. In 2 weeks. Did you get upset there? February 15th. Then you meet the person 20 days later. You look great, right? You see the person. That neutral look, right? Have you ever seen people who have a neutral look? You never know what they want. Come on, can it be there? It's up to you. I have a problem with people who only know what they want. They don't know anything themselves, and we have to know everything. Even in this, she's too lazy to know where she wants to have lunch. You know, it's typical of a child who doesn't have the courage to speak up, because later, if something goes wrong, she blames it all. But I said I didn't want to come here. Or rather, I didn't say no, I just kept quiet. I kept thinking, it's not good, but he's the one you wanted, and then she throws everything on you. All the responsibility, whether it didn't work out, business, childishness. We have nothing worse than those pig spikes that sometimes take over us. I wish I believed in spiritualism, right? I would even do the lateral father movement. What time are you walking normally at an event? The low pig spirit. The pig spirit, which is the one that stays inside the car during the trip, speaking only quietly, occasionally to someone else. Like, I don't know, I think it's very wrong. But don't talk to the driver. No. Don't give your opinion. No. Later, when I was really wrong, that's when she opens her mouth. I spoke up. I've been here finding it strange since the moment I realized. But that pig spirit didn't open its mouth when it needed to, because it's a spoiled child. The preserved childishness stayed there, preventing the person from speaking out. It's its slave. It's the encouragement of opinion. It keeps talking through its teeth. Go to hell. There's no way. This pig spirit. The pig spirit takes over us with the ease of the pig spirit that they manifest everywhere out there. The band will be voted on, each one arranging their instrument, carrying it there. He's realizing that something is wrong. Then, when the business starts, yeah, I had noticed. I didn't say anything, that I don't like it like that. Sick. The scene will be set up there. I'm bald man. The stage will be set. There are plenty of people to arrange. The pig spirit is the one that doesn't pick up a needle, doesn't lift a straw, but stays there in the corner. It won't work. But then come and leave? Why might it not work? Because sometimes your opinion will be precious to us. People, is this the same thing that gives life? It's the same thing that gives life. Only we, in the slavery of our affections, throw tantrums in different ways. But I don't have the courage to lie on the floor and scream. Does it have weight? I don't know. In private, right? Our emotional peer, it manifests itself in our closed face, in our bad mood, in our harsh responses. It's there that childhood, the one that shouldn't be preserved, comes out in our behavior. The same thing, my people, two interesting differences, and that the child is not capable of making. All the time in life, we are offended. It's no use. Even if you are that person who speaks like that, there are two types of people. And those who don't know me yet, even if you are like that, even if you are a dear person, you call everyone Lila, right? One of those breaded ones. Everything. Even if you are like that, there are people who don't like you and only you talk a lot about liquid, right? There are people who think you are too smooth, not liking it. So we will always have someone who won't like us. It's good that it is like that. Then you get it all the time. You're offended in life. An offense can be a word he looks at. Do you know how to offend by looking at him? God forbid, from offenses and damages losses. I ask you, an evil look at you. Is it an offense or is it a loss? Walking. Alone damage. He's giving me a dirty look. Isn't that right? The girl's reaction is immediate. She doesn't know how to differentiate between an insult and a bad look. Another person giving me a dirty look doesn't hurt me at all. My people hurt me. They hurt me. They slap me. That's damage. You trip me up and sedate me? If he makes a concrete and famous slander, that's damage. But a look, a malicious word, something that happens every day, that's an offense that we'll know how to release all the time. Many of our traumas, many of our emotional difficulties are not born of concrete losses. We don't lose anything with that gossip. We don't lose anything with that comment. We don't lose anything with that offense. But we lived as if we were lost. It's childhood. It's a slavery of not knowing. It's impressive, people, that the healing process in human life is always a process of substitution. Healing. God's healing process in us occurs in the act of illuminating our intelligence to enable us to see the same room with different eyes. Let's say you were traumatized in your childhood. You were traumatized in your childhood when you didn't know what a dark room meant. And someone locked me in a dark room and told you that there was a monster inside. Anyone who is afraid of a dark room here has the courage to speak out. That's right. Are they all adults? Are they all adults? And I ask, what harm can a dark room do us? Just a bump on the bed, if you can't see, is the only harm it can do. It's you giving it a kick. You know those ones on winter days? I think, are you wearing slippers? That Friday ham you got up to pee Zinho? You get up and don't see Quina from the closet, and it goes up, isn't it? It's the only harm a dark room can do to human life. Is it you kicking something? But when you were a child, for some reason, for something wrong you did and for the stupidity of those who raised me without knowing how to deal with yours, with your penalties, and they say like this, are we going to leave you in that room where there's a dead body? There's a monster in there, you see? Guys, pay attention to the song they sang for us to sleep. Bull, bull, bull. Blackface bull. Get that child who's afraid of grimaces. Bull, bull, bull. Blackface bull. Is that the child who's afraid of grimaces? How were you kind to us? How did you understand psychology? There was the one in the forest that was even worse. Who remembers the forest? That left the child in the forest? There was one like that was worse than that. Guys, imagine trying to calm a child by saying to them, hi, bull, bull, blackface bull, get this child who's afraid of grimaces. Oh, what an eternal thing. And what fantastic psychology. And then they told us that the blackface bull would come get us if we didn't wash our mouths. The rat would come to ruin our faces. You would wake up without half your face. Just cute things to say to us before we went to sleep. Then they would lock you in a dark room and say there was an animal inside. Well, we a child. They don't have enough intelligence to know that the animal doesn't exist. They believe their mother's word. The real reference a child has is their father and mother. If you say there's an animal inside that will put me there to expose myself to the animal's danger, I'll believe you. Emotion is a form of intelligence. I said that yesterday. But in that moment when you're locked in the dark room, will you live so afraid of the animal that's inside that you'll be traumatized for the rest of your life? Then later, when you grow up, you've even forgotten your mother's threat. Have you forgotten the threat from your brother or whoever it was who put you in that dark room? Only today, when you enter a dark room, your emotion is still. It comes out in that fear, in that favor. And you don't know how to control it. You don't know how to control the opposite adverse feeling that fills you with insecurity and fear. How are you going to be able to heal your heart, your mind, from this fear of the dark room? Rationalizing, then, if the emotion, it is a form of intelligence that dominates you all the time. Will you now bring your reason to live the process of healing emotions? Psychology, I'm making this up. Is this therapy? It's what in conscious hypnosis. They make the person get in touch with what brings fear, with what brings trauma, and rebuilds from a reformulation. Rational. And you will say to yourself, from time to time you will expose yourself to the dark room. And will you mentalize? These dark rooms can't do me any harm. The safe, your fear of the room? At first, you'll be terrified. But as you face reality, in the dose you can, don't expose yourself too much to fear, no, but expose yourself little by little, and you will realize that your child's process is as if you held a child by the hand and said, I think this is beautiful. Who do you remember the last chapter? In which one? The character Chiquina Gonzaga was played by Regina Duarte's daughter when she was young. Isn't that right? The young Chiquina Gonzaga was Regina Duarte's daughter, who I don't remember. Her name is Gabriela Duarte. And Chiquina Gonzaga, already elderly, already an adult, it was Regina Duarte. Guys, there's a memorable scene from Brazilian television. It was that last scent showed off in bed. The three, Chiquina Gonzaga, the young woman, the middle-aged woman, and the three people, the same person in three different stages of life talking, the youngest telling the mistakes of the past, and the elderly woman calming down. When did you do that? The one he has. You know that yet? You know about it here. The middle-aged woman confessing something that embarrassed her, and the elderly woman once again telling her that she didn't need to be ashamed of it here, because at that moment in her life, she didn't have enough reasons to understand that fact that way. Guys, that's very wise. It doesn't matter how old you are, but use the wisdom that life has already given you to sit down with all your ages and correct your past a little like that, as if you had the opportunity today to have your child in the world. Lap, have you ever imagined this? You are an adult today, with you as a child in your lap, telling this child that she does not need to have the same fear as back then, that you are with her today, that the adult is here to accompany the fearful child. Look how beautiful it is. God gives us the opportunity through the phases of life, through the seasons of life, through the experience of time, of what life has given you. You have the opportunity to put yourself in his lap and heal yourself from the fears of the past. Who knows, you, woman of today, look at that woman who was abandoned some 5 years ago, 6? That abandonment that marked your heart so negatively? She preferred your shine as a woman. I don't know how to say it to her. Don't be afraid of that one. Who didn't know you, could never have you. Will you have the courage to find yourself in the different phases of life? Those adolescent traumas? How many adolescent traumas do we have? You today as an adult, aware of what your life was like, of what your fears were, you are able to look at yourself at different stages of your life. Exercise your creativity, people. May your prayer be like this. May you, when you gather, pray, bring up the phases of your life that need healing. If your greatest emotional traumas are from childhood, get used to holding your child in your arms, looking them in the eyes, talking to them, telling them what they didn't know back then, but that you know today. Replace what is bad with what is good today. Is this the experience you have of allowing God to come and rescue your wounded soul, your spirit of the IP? It's about having the possibility of rebuilding yourself in life so that you don't continue to drag this mountain of disappointments, which are the result of a phase of life in which you couldn't understand what was happening. You who are musicians, the technique you have today. How many times have you been humiliated for being bad? Was someone much better than you? And to musicians who are wonderful today, who still are aggressive with other colleagues because they still carry insecurity, don't they know they're good? If you live with them all the time, you can observe a very aggressive professional who is afraid to discuss what he knows because he is afraid that the other knows more than he does. It is the one who, at a certain point in life, was looked in the eye, was called stupid. You know nothing, you can do nothing, but today he can. But he still has that record that he didn't know. And at that moment, really, he didn't know that much. The trauma remained within him. The record, then notion became negative. Even if today he knows that he has very refined technical knowledge. Emotion betrays. I usually say, passionate emotion. It is always, look at a person passionate about beer. That romantic music is not enough. Romantics are crazy, deranged, who want to be the other, who think the other is paradise, action of popular, who live in bars. Even if they are right, they will ask for forgiveness and spend the night awake. Do you know the rare taste of loving without fear of another disappointment? Romantic is an endangered species. Romantic is an endangered species. Heard that? Have you ever seen a romantic person? They are almost silly. If you look quickly, if I think they are silly, it's because a romantic is always in love. And passion? It tends to be many times. You run the risk of looking silly so much so that later you are so embarrassed by that video that was recorded after you had already had a few drinks. Graduation finals are always like that. Those boys who never hugged. Everything. Are you going to give it your all, brother? Isn't that so? On the last day of school, everyone drinks a little kachaka to have the courage to kiss the friend they'll miss. The emotion comes out, and it comes in a very stupid way. It doesn't go much through knowledge, through reason. And you look, after that, my God, how did I have the courage to do it? Is it because you were in the course of your emotion, which often has no fence? There's no being. There's no fence. But many times you need to go back in time and look at that emotion that was damaged and fix it. The good thing is that you have the opportunity my people, to reconcile with yourself. No reconciliation with another will be possible if you don't first experience reconciliation with yourself. No forgiveness will be concrete if you don't first forgive yourself. No look will be deep if you don't first look at yourself. You won't be able to find absolutely anyone in this life if you don't first find yourself. That's life. It doesn't matter what we had in the past. God gives us the intelligence today to be able to look at today and rebuild it with the strength of heaven's power. Expert in healing. God is an expert in healing wounded hearts. God is an expert in healing wounded hearts. God is an expert in people who didn't make it. God is an expert in people who don't know how to live. Don't stay out of this group. Don't be afraid of your fears. Don't be afraid of your traumas. Don't be afraid of past history. Don't be afraid of what others did to you. Be afraid of what you make of yourself. If anything here in this life can destroy us, my people, it's not what others did to us. It's what we allow others to do to us. Instead of throwing a tantrum, lamenting my life, it's hell for my life. It didn't work out. Nobody loved me. Nobody wanted me. Nobody helped me. Get up. This is not the time to come. This is not the time to lament that you weren't there. God is an always open door so that we can discover a new way. Even if you're 60 years old and haven't known what love is for 60 years, it doesn't matter. Be able to bring all the phases of your life into your bed. Sit with them. Comfort Blue. The greatest comfort you can receive in life doesn't come from others. It comes from yourself, because there's no point in others allowing you to live if you still don't allow yourself to. There's absolutely no point in others giving you the green light if you still keep putting up red lights, preventing yourself from moving forward, preventing yourself from achieving what the Lord has planned and prepared for you. There's no point in others thinking you'll succeed if you don't convince yourself of it. Be like Rio. Rio, when they put up barriers to stop him from continuing, he stays deep. He doesn't lament because he has nowhere to go. He creates depth where he is. Be Rio. Stop throwing tantrums in life. Stop lamenting what you shouldn't open your eyes to because you still have a lot of potential. And it is God who tells us this today. It is God who assures us that life has not yet ended. It is God who continues to remove us from the darkness of the power of darkness and the lamentable power of rage. It is God who still continues to look at us the same way Jesus looked at all those who passed through his life. This is the disconcerting thing about Christianity. God still prefers the worst. God still prefers those who did not succeed. God still prefers those who are miserable. The great challenge is here. In the moment of my tantrum, he finds me. And in the moment of your tantrum, he finds you. And stay? Don't say a word? Wait for your tantrum to end? Look at you, it's over. Is the tantrum over? Now, get up and be people. Are you willing? Through the intercession of the blessed Virgin Mary, may the blessing of Almighty God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit descend upon us, and may the Holy Spirit, therefore, today, come and rekindle in us the certainty of who we are. Do not live forgotten. Do not ignore this beautiful truth. Are you a child of heaven?